do you really think that Aston Villa rank in the European elite? PSG have never won the Champions League. I know it was the European Cup when Villa won it. Arsenal have never done it, but where are you putting Villa?
Is this in terms of stature of the club?
Stature, yeah, go for it.
We've got to be up there. We're part of a select few clubs in this country to have won the European Cup or Champions League, so not many clubs can say that, like you just said. Arsenal haven't won it, that they get teased about quite a lot, so we're definitely up there. The history, you have to walk around Villa Park, go in Villa Park, it's everywhere. Everything's about 1982, winning that European Cup, so definitely up there for sure.
I wouldn't say we're top tier, but obviously when you've won the trophy, you carry some weight and you do carry some history. I think we're probably still a long way off where we would like to be, but under this manager now, we're on the right track, and if he stays for a long time, like I think he will, I don't see any reason why Villa can't be regulars in the Champions League and hopefully one day challenge for it. You know, you look at Spurs, they got to the final, didn't they? They had a run where they were consistently in the latter stages of the Champions League and qualified. I think Villa want to take that. That's the next step for Villa.
Is this atmosphere as well? Obviously, Villa Park just behind us. Are we going to see one of the best atmospheres in the whole Champions League this season?
I think so. I think it's been so long since Villa have been there. Obviously, it's been, well, we won it in 82. The last time we played a game in the European Cup was 83. We didn't really defend our title very well. And I think, you know, we've had great atmospheres here in the, well, you know, when we got back into the Premier League, and the European nights last season were decent, but I just cannot wait to get in there later. The Champions League atmosphere. So many Villa fans haven't experienced anything like this. It's new territory for so many Villa fans, so many generations of Villa fans. So yeah, especially in that whole 10 later, it's going to be electric.
I'm nearly 40. I've never seen Champions League football, so I think the atmosphere, just based on that, will be incredible. But Villa Park under the lights is a special, special place anyway. And you factor in some of the big teams that are coming in as well, Bayern Munich, Juventus, Celtic, all coming to Villa Park. They're all special games for varying reasons. And I just think the atmosphere is going to be incredible.
Will tears be running down your cheeks as soon as that Champions League music starts playing?
Do you know what? Probably. I mean, I was at Young Boys in the first game, but it was a little bit quiet, you know, so it was hard to hear. But I think, yeah, being in there, being in the whole end, the speaker's going to be loud. I can't wait for it. So, yeah, most likely.
Let's talk about the blue half of Birmingham quickly. Do you reckon Birmingham City fans should be getting behind the whole city and supporting the Villa tonight?
I'm not going to be deluded, because if they were in our position, highly unlikely, but I wouldn't be getting behind them. I mean, you know what, let's be sensible. It is good for Midlands football, of course it is. Like, people obviously focus on the North West and teams in London, so it is great for Midlands football, 100%, but I'm not going to beat around the bush. If it was them in this position, then I wouldn't be supporting them, so I doubt it.
No, if it was the other way around, I wouldn't be doing it. They're doing well in League One at the moment, but there is levels to this game, and probably the gap, bigger Blues fans would say this themselves, the gap between Villa and Blues is as big as it's ever been. They'll hope to close that gap under the new ownership, but they're not going to want us to do well in the Champions League. That's the last thing they'd want, and vice versa. I wouldn't want that for them either.
How proud are you? The last 10 years have been such a roller coaster for Aston Villa fans. Of course, you lost in the playoff final to Fulham, bouncing around between the Premier League and the Championship, and now you're here. Just how mental has this decade been?
I still can't believe it. I mean, I started going home and away when we first got relegated, so I've seen it all. And I think it's so rare in football now that teams go from mid-table in the Championship. I had a flashback on my phone the other day, Villa being 19th in the Championship, sort of 11 games into the season when Di Matteo got sacked. And then obviously we've had some horrible managers like Steven Gerrard coming here, and that didn't really work out. So hasn't been plain sailing the whole way through, but the upturn in the last 5 or 6 years has been absolutely unbelievable. Like you said, losing to Fulham in that playoff final, probably the best thing that happened to us, because financially we were horrible that summer. We could have gone bust, and then a year later Dean Smith getting us promoted and then staying up just in the Premier League, and then since then it's just been going up and up, and Unai Emery is the catalyst to that.
You say Unai Emery is the catalyst just then. Unai Emery said in his press conference yesterday that Aston Villa need to remain in the Champions League. We know how big Aston Villa are as a football club. Do you think that this is just the beginning in Aston Villa's long journey? Because you had European football last season, but let's face it, it's a difference between Europa League, Conference League, whatever, and the Champions League. Do you reckon you're going to be here at this point for years to come now?
Fingers crossed, mate. Fingers crossed. I mean, the Conference League will stand us in good stead. I think a lot of the players that we've got now have had that Champions League experience. Look at Tielemans, he's got so much experience. Pau Torres, Unai Emery got him with Villarreal to the semi-finals with a team like Villarreal. That is unbelievable. Unai Emery is the perfect man for the job. He is just the perfect man in European football. I think it's 16, 17 years he's consecutively played in Europe, whatever competition that is. So 100%, look, it's new for Villa as a club, but I think we've got the sort of players and the managers there to stand us in good stead. So fingers crossed we can keep it going. going. This can be the first year in the Champions League, because I think it's always going to be hard first year. Yes, I've just said we've got that European experience, but Champions League, I'm not going to beat around the bush. Like that's another level. So fingers crossed, this time next year we'll be in the same place.
If we don't do it under this manager, we'll never do it, because he is a Champions League quality manager. He's a manager that season upon season, wherever he's been, he's operated playing European football, and it was the first thing he referenced when he got the job at Villa, and he talked about wanting to take Villa to the top, and he's done it in 18 months, which is absolutely incredible. I think as long as he's here, there's a chance that season upon season Villa can play Champions League football. I'm not going to say that they're going to win the Champions League, but there's no reason why they can't qualify fifth, might get Champions League football. There's no reason why Villa can't consistently be around the top 4 and top 5 under this manager.
How scared are you for tonight? Michael Olise, Harry Kane. Is there apprehension, or do you actually feel like you could do Bayern Munich tonight?
I'm not scared. I don't think there's any reason for Villa to fear anyone. We saw last season when they're at it, they beat Manchester City at Villa Park, they beat Arsenal at Villa Park, they beat Arsenal twice last season. I think we might still be the only team that's beaten them.
I think this year, yeah.
Yeah, in 2024, Villa are the only team that have beaten Arsenal in the domestic game. So Villa don't fear Bayern Munich. Bayern Munich are a team that have played Champions League football every season. This is what they do, so they've got more experience. But in a one-off game at Villa Park, there's no reason why Villa can't beat Bayern Munich, and I would back us to do it tonight. I really think we'll win.
How scared are you for Harry Kane to return to Villa Park as well? He's carried a few injuries, but let's face it, he's not been shy in front of goal. Pau Torres and the rest of that back line, what have they got to do to stop Kane? And even Michael Olise as well. Yeah,
really hard. I mean, Kane's got a fantastic record against the Villa. It feels like when he was at Tottenham, every time he came here, score a penalty, score a last-minute winner, whatever it is. So he loves playing against Villa, and they've got a lot of quality. Bayern Munich. They're in a weird spell, obviously, Company going in there. They're sort of finding their feet. The Bundesliga, they haven't been tested so far. I think the game on Saturday against Leverkusen was the first time they've been tested. But you look at Villa and Sunday against Ipswich, defensively, we were really poor. I don't know whether we were sort of saving ourselves for this game, but we were really poor against Ipswich. So Harry Kane, Olise, they've got a lot of quality. Musiala as well. So we're going to have to do a lot better than Sunday, that's for sure.
You say a lot better. Do you actually think you can get something over Bayern Munich this evening at Villa Park?
I don't see why not. We talked about the atmosphere already. I think that's going to be a massive part to it. The players have already said that. I think, look, you go back to last season, we had a few rough games. We drew to Bournemouth where we looked terrible, and then 3 days later we came here and played the champions Man City off the park. 3 days later after that we played Arsenal off the park and beat them as well with 2 clean sheets, which at the time we really didn't expect. So 100% we can get up for it. The players, like I've said, they've got quality, and I don't see why not.
You think over the last decade, did you ever think you were going to get back to this level?
There was a point where I didn't think we were going to get out of the Championship. We were only there for 3 years, and we saw back in the day how long Leeds spent in the Championship and how difficult, and then when that's League One, and how difficult it is to get out. So there was a period where you didn't know what was going to happen to this club. You were coming here week in, week out, knowing you were going to lose that season that we went down. And to think in less than 10 years, or 10 years, they've got themselves from that to this, I can only really put it down to the owners and the manager. I think Villa have put the building blocks in place over the last 5 years with a lot of what they've done with the infrastructure and bringing players in, but they didn't have that man to knit it all together. They've brought in the perfect manager. He is the perfect manager. I would not change him for anyone in world football.